Hey, Live on Purpose parents, one of the most challenging things about being a parent is when your kids switch on you and become adults. You're still a parent. How do you be a better parent to young adults? Vicki and I are at that stage of our life where all of our kids now are adults. They've reached that magical age where the state feels like they are responsible for themselves now. This is good news, right? We've raised our kids to adulthood. Everything should be peachy now. You know, if you've got adult kids, that's not true. You continue to be a parent even when your kids are adults. I remember saying to Vicki one night as we were talking about a couple of our adult children and some of the challenges they were facing, I mentioned to her, hon, buckle up, because we're not driving. But you're sure as heck along for the ride, aren't you? And it can be kind of a terrifying ride at times. Here's 5 things that Vicki and I have learned as we have gotten into that phase of parenting adults. Number 1, honor them as adults. Yes, they are still your children, but they are also adults. For you to honor that position in their life, I think means that you back off a little bit, and there are 3 messages. I've shared this in some other parenting videos here on the channel. I think it applies especially to our young adult kids. The 3 messages that you can send to honor them as adults. Number 1, I love you, no matter what, and even if. Message number 2, if you have any questions, ask, but we don't cram it down their throat, okay? Unwanted advice is hardly ever heeded. Message number 3, good luck. That's your acknowledgement that you're not driving. Your kids are running their lives. Your adult kids are running their own lives, aren't they? And that's our way of backing off and honoring them as adults. Simple. Simple and easy aren't the same thing. We already know that. My second tip today for parenting these young adults, what do they want? They want freedom. They want autonomy. They want control over their own life. They don't want you running their life for them. Because of your experience, you may be able to assist them in knowing how to get that freedom and autonomy and control. Freedom is not free. You ask any veteran of any of our wars, freedom is not free. It comes at the price of personal responsibility. We call it maturity sometimes here on the channel. There's another video that we did, several actually, about 3 stages of moral development. Connect with the Positive Parenting playlist here and review some of the videos that talk about that, particularly one that talks about teaching children responsibility. I think you'll find some good ideas there. Part of our job as a parent is to help our kids understand how they can get what they want. For young adults, freedom and control is priceless. Let's help them understand how to get that through their own personal responsibility. Now, one of the common conflicts that comes up leads me to my next tip. Sometimes our young adult children want their space, right? They don't want us intruding on their space. Let's just have a quick conversation about what is theirs. And if they're living in your home, that room is not theirs, is it? You're paying the mortgage, you're paying the rent, so you control that space, not them. But this is an awkward period sometimes as there's a transitioning from adolescence and teenage years into young adult years, where legally they're an adult, but in terms of their control over things like their living space, they're not quite there yet. Here's one way that we can help them. Talk about rent. I'm not saying that you should charge them money to live in that room in your home, although that's a possibility, isn't it? Most parents feel a little awkward about that. So we have a different conversation about rent. Your young adult child could move out on their own and get an apartment. True? Why, yes, they could. Oh, but they don't have enough money, you might say. Well, why don't they have enough money? Maybe because they're not practicing all of the adulting skills that we talked about in another video. In fact, you could connect to that, how to be better at adulting. Rent simply is the compensation you pay in exchange for control over space. What if you made a different arrangement with your young adult? You're not asking for money. You're asking for them to do something that you feel would improve their life. And that becomes their rent. Quick example. I was working with a mom whose young adult son was doing nothing more than playing video games in her home full-time. Probably more than full-time. I think he was exceeding 40 hours a week on this game. As we had this conversation, she realized that what she would really value is to see her son working full-time or going to school to improve his ability to get full-time work. That's what she would value. And so that became his rent. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can set this up, but just to get you thinking about that concept, have a discussion about rent and what that means about control. The next tip that I have for you is probably something that you've already learned. Unwanted advice is rarely heeded. There's a difference between advice and counsel. As you show up and give advice to your young adult, probably you're going to get some resistance, some pushback. What's the difference between advice and counsel? Counsel is where you make yourself available and present to your young adult child with the 3 messages that we talked about earlier. I love you no matter what, and even if. If you have any questions, ask. Because I'm here. That sets you up to provide counsel. And then the 3rd message, good luck. You acknowledge that they're going to run their life, and you are simply here as a trusted advisor. When they want to ask your advice, they will come to you and you can counsel with them. I would encourage you to start with a position that sounds something like this. Well, I'm not sure what's going to be best for you. In my experience, and then you share your counsel with them. Don't tell them what to do. They'll resist that. Simply share your experience with them, and then you're in a powerful position to be a trusted advisor. You'd be really surprised if I didn't get to this last tip, and that is remember your job. Remember your job as a parent is to love them no matter what and even if. Well, Dr. Paul, even if they're making bad choices? Well, first of all, don't be so darn judgmental. You're calling them bad choices because it doesn't fit the way you would do it. Remain open to the possibility that your young adult child is doing the very best they know how to do with everything that they know, including everything that you've taught them. They already know where you stand on a lot of things. Don't get stuck in that position. Your job is to love them no matter what, and even if. Notice the relief that you feel when you remind yourself that that's your job, because you can do that, can't you? They're going to make whatever choices they're going to make. And no matter where they end up, if it's in prison or if it's in the executive suite, doesn't make any difference to you. Your job remains the same, to love them no matter what and even if. This whole thing of parenting is so much easier when we team up and we collaborate and we form a community like this great community that we have here at Live on Purpose TV. If you haven't yet had a chance to check out the Parenting Power Up, we have put this program together for you and for this community. Let's band together to create the most positive parenting outcomes we can. ParentingPowerUp.com. Hope to see you there.